Now we're ready to actually build this table over here on the calculator. The first thing we need to do is write this equation in the calculator. Notice the equation starts with y equal. At the very top of the calculator on the left-hand side is the y equal button. If you press that button, you should get this screen. If there's anything in this place, go ahead and push clear to get rid of that. So if it's empty, we can go ahead and just write our first equation in. So we're going to try and write 10x plus 5. 10, we already know how to do. For the x button, next to my colored alpha button is an x, t, theta, n. If I push that button, I will get the x button. Do not use alpha x to get to x. You want to use this red key here as your variable key. Plus 5. And there's that equation that we wanted to show up in the calculator. So that's our first step completed. The second thing we want to do is create this table. So instead of just finding the table, which is over here, we want to start out with table set. So table set is up here above the window button. Because it's in blue, I'm going to hit the second button first and then window. And that will bring me the table set that I need. So it should say table setup if you've done that correctly. If not, try again. Second window will get you to this table setup menu. Then it says table start or table start. We want our table to start at 0, which is what this says, so that's correct. The next row, if I go down, use the down arrow, I have delta table, this little triangle we read as delta. That tells us what we want the table to jump by. Now our table jumps up by 2, so we want to change this one to a 2. So I typed 2 to change that. You want the independent to have auto highlighted. You want the dependent to have auto highlighted. So it should already look like that. If yours looks different, let's say it has a box around the ask, you want to use these arrows to highlight the ask to move that box over to auto, and while it's flashing on auto, press enter. Alright, so now my table setup is exactly the way I want it to be, and I want to get to this table button. Again, table is in blue, so I'll hit second, and then the graph button to get to the table. This gives me my x values, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and this gives me my y values, 5, 25, 45, 65, 85, 105 and 125, which exactly matches my table, so I've done that successfully. By the way, this down arrow will allow you to not only scroll through the table, but continue to create more values that we don't even have over here. So you can scroll up and down through your table beyond where we started from. And we can even go backwards to negative values for the table. All right, let's take a look at the second example that we built by hand and try and do that in the calculator as well. So I'm going to go back to y equal and clear the equation. So let's go over and find our other table that was completed. Here's our table. Here's the equation. Now the equation has a c equal. In our calculator we only have a y equal, and so we have to make that adjustment when we move to the calculator. So I'm going to type in 65 plus 15 times g. Now again, I could get a g off my calculator, but we really want this variable key that's next to the alpha. So just like we used a y to represent our c over here, we're going to use this x key to represent our input variable. So in the calculator, the only input variable is x, and the only output variable is y equal. Now if you have several equations, we have y equal 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Right now we're only going to work with one equation. So we want to set this table up instead. Remember, our table set is up here above window. So second, table set. We want our table to start at 1. So right now it's starting at -4, so I'm going to type 1 in here. Okay, that 1 is good. Use the down arrow to get to the delta table. We want our table to just jump by 1s this time, not by 2s. 1. We want to keep the auto here on independent, the auto here on dependent. So now I'm ready to go visit my table, which is second graph. And my table says I can go from 80 to 95 to 110, 125, 140, and 155. So this table that I created over here, I can see is correct. You will be using your calculator in the future to actually verify the work that you've done on building tables. So it's nice to have this as a place to check your work. You will be working on more of these in your homework. If you get stuck, section 3.2 has directions on how to build tables in the calculator, or you can come back and revisit this video.